All right, so kia ora koutou, everyone. My name is Dr. Joshua Emmitt. I'm the Curator of Archaeology at Auckland War Memorial Museum, Tamaki Paenga. And today I'm presenting on behalf of my co-author, Richard Ng, who's the senior photographer and media producer at the museum. I'm going to talk about the work we've done over the past few years to really kind of establish photogrammetry and practice at the museum. So Auckland Museum's been capturing 3D data for a number of years. It's not a new phenomena. And before I started, there were lots of projects that have been done, primarily around the natural sciences collections. So there was a large collection of bird bones that were on Sketchfab and still are. These were collected with structured light scanners, so not photogrammetry, but there's a lot of other models like the one you can see there on the right of a articulated moa skeleton, and that was done obviously with scanning and CAD. So that's all up on Sketchfab. They're still some of our most liked and viewed Sketchfab models, which is great. And these were done with collaboration with the Auckland University of Technology. So that it was there, but it wasn't really in practice. It was only on a case-by-case basis for projects as they came up. So I began my role as curator in 2023, and I came from a postdoctoral position at the University of Auckland in archaeology, and I've done a photogrammetry for a number of different projects. Some of you may remember some of my previous talks from the other Australasia chapter conferences, which are on YouTube. But when I got to the museum, I was trying to find my footing. A curator of archaeology is a very broad position. You can kind of make it what you would like. And so I thought, what could I bring to the wider museum that wasn't in practice at that stage? And really, it was from my expertise, and that was photogrammetry. So really creating models of the objects in Taonga, Maori objects within the collections. Uh, as anyone who's dabbled knows, you need a fairly decent computer to do it efficiently. So there's a fund available to museum staff called the C.A.A. Gregory Special Projects Fund. I'm grateful to that fund as we got it in 2003 and 2023 and 2024. And we use the money to purchase a high-end graphics processing computer that we house in a server room and remote access into, so anyone can use it, but it's dedicated for photogrammetry. Agisoft Metashape license, automatic term table, and with the second grant, we purchased some lenses and filters for small scale and cross polarization and things. Now I can see my YouTube video. Maybe I can replay that. There we go. So we connected three cameras together with we had a colleague made a box for us that connected them to the remote trigger, which connected to an app. And basically you just kind of hit go and it does your rotation, shooting all three cameras, and then you just rotate the object. So it was relatively efficient to take images. Oh, okay, it's not going to let me change. There we go. So I've got some examples here of what we did. Mainly objects in our Ancient Worlds Gallery, and those attributed from places such as Greece, Rome, Egypt, Europe. And this was really to show the utility of the method to the wider museum community at Auckland. So we uploaded models to the existing Auckland Museum Sketchfab page. And where possible, we linked them to our collections online record. So you can see an example there on the right of a scribes box. So when you view that on collections online, the 3D model will load at the bottom of the page. That was integrated by the team in the current version of collections online. It is going through an upgrade at the moment, and it may be a bit more seamless or integrated in the future, but I was really grateful to them to really working with what we already had. You can also see that we had a natural sciences object, which was a two-headed shark, which I'll talk a little about in a but I wasn't really sure why I was making a model of that until after the fact. But anyway, we also worked on reflective objects, which, as people will tell you, can be a challenge. So this was a Victorian gold ring on the left there. The diamond or the crystals in the middle didn't work so well, but we got a reasonably good result on this reasonably small object with a reflection. Always room for improvement. There's a lot of really cool techniques coming out that help with reflective objects to give really nice results. This was just kind of testing out our new lenses. And on the right, we've got a berry seed, which is from the archaeology collections, and that's less than a centimeter across. So we're really trying to get that micro photogrammetry going. And this was a really cool to actually get working. That one's not reflective, it's just small, but yeah, it was a kind of a nice win. For conservation, basically, after the work, we'd kind of upload some models, talked about it at some forums within the museum. People started to get more interested, and as we got the second grant, I tried to bring in more teams from across the museum to really talk about how we could use it beyond archaeology and just putting models online. So one of them was the conservation department was very interested, and also exhibitions and displays. So the teams that make the mounts for objects going on display. And what you can see here is a 3D printed model of a ray puta, which is a carved whale tooth pendant. The actual object is really fragile. It has a couple of repairs on it. It's very delicate to handle. So what we did is we were able to make a 3D model, print it, and then use that to help make a bespoke stand for it to go on display with, as opposed to manipulating the metal stand around the actual object, which will require multiple handling events. This was just kind of allowed allowed the exhibitors to really work with it and create something that was going to fit just right. So definitely more applications in that respect where it could be used and is planned to be used as well, especially as we start to redo a number of our galleries. So that was a really cool output. And now we've got people in those departments that know how to do this. They can just do it as they need to. Display in August this year, we installed our first 3D printed object on permanent display. This case you can see was developed around Mototapu Island in Auckland, which is and it was developed in conjunction with the local iwi Ngāi Kitamaki. And the footprints, there are some footprints from Mototapu, which you can see the 3D print on the top right, that were preserved in the ash from the Rangitoto eruption and at the Puaharakiki site. And what that's a key taonga for Ngāi Kitamaki. But the one-to-one scale is huge. It's about a meter across, and that's up in our volcanoes gallery and really adds to the narrative there. So we worked out a way where we could make a photogrammetry model of that and then 3D print it to include in this Mototapu case, which would really let us, really include that key taonga for that iwi in this narrative that they wanted to tell in this case without necessarily moving the original. So that was really cool to see. And we don't want to necessarily have all of our objects on display as 3D printed, but it does show that we can use this method to kind of create opportunities across the museum. There's been a lot of printing, more printing than I realized. So I've made a lot of models for people over the time. And actually, when I was putting this talk together, I had to start getting an idea of what we were printing them for. So it's actually really interesting to me to figure that out. The top left there, that's a Bez amulet in our archaeology collections from ancient Egypt. The one on the left is actually the one-to-one scale, and the one on the right is an enlarged version. And we did that for some visually impaired guests that were coming so they could interact better with the objects and feel the detail on them. And this has, that was a proof of concept that we can apply more readily. On the top right, we've got some Pupu harakiki snails, land snails, which is a really important taonga species to Ngāti Kuri, and which the museum has a couple of projects involved with. So I was asked to do some prints for that, do a model of that. It was a real boon for us because another member of that project had tried to make a model of it, but it wasn't suited for 3D printing, and the photogrammetry came out on top. So that was quite a cool moment. But yeah, that's been printed over 100 times and given out. So that was I didn't realize so many, but here we are. Bottom left, it's a Kidadu skull, so that's New Zealand wood pigeon. And we printed those as part of a paleontology program where students look at various extinct animals and compare them to animals live today. So they were we already had some purchased 3D printed dodo skulls, which is the closest living relative of the dodo in New Zealand is the kiddidu. So we made a bunch of 3D models of the original, so we've captured it with photogrammetry and then printed them so students could handle them and do their comparisons. And on the bottom right, we've got that two-headed shark, which I didn't realize, but it was actually made and printed for someone's leaving present. So that was cool. But it shows that we can do these things really rapidly for not really much time or resource investment either. We've integrated 3D models into some other outputs as well, primarily the What Are Toki resource. There's a couple of blogs which I haven't mentioned, but we've incorporated 3D models into those. But this resource around Toki or ADSs in Aotearoa that was developed as a joint project between archaeology at the museum and archaeology at the University of Auckland. And we incorporated 3D models throughout it just to really exemplify some of the different features we were describing. And those models are annotated so people can zoom around and get an idea of what we've been talking about. So yeah, a lot of different ways that it's been going, and it's really just to give people a way to interact with our collections, because we can't always let people handle things, and it's all, we try to in a number of ways at the museum, but sometimes things are fragile, and as you all know, so it's just a way for us to really expand that, and the 3D models really provide that digital element, whether on Sketchfab or any other platform, just for people to engage with the taonga. What's on the other side? They can spin it around and have a look. And people seem very receptive to that so far. So ongoing work, I mean, the job's never done. So basically, the photography team now has photogrammetry as one of their outputs that you can request off them. You put in your image request of an object, and you can say, "I'd like a photogrammetry data set collected," so that they'll take the photos for you, and then you can process them from your own desktop. And I've been training a number of teams around the museum on how to use Agisoft Metashape and just the basic principles. And then they go away and practice and ask questions. And when the object comes up, if someone's not quite sure, I'm always happy to liaise. But now I'm not the only one that knows how to make the model, which is ideal. And um, yeah, the methodology is just common enough that it's kind of just in the workflow now. People can just request it and get on with it and use it for whatever they may need, whether it's just a CAD model to kind of mock up a display, or whether it's something for something for printing to help make to help make sorry, something for printing to help make stands. I wasn't able to show images of a lot of our Māori taonga for cultural permissions reasons, but photogrammetry now, our teams are able to capture really high resolution photos of some of our key taonga within the museum, and then they're either being processed in-house or being contracted out for photogrammetry models, and that's for everything from conservation to sharing with iwi to looking at how to make proper stands for these taonga when required. We're talking large objects. So it's been really great to see the uptake and just people really embrace the utility of it. Um, I've got so I'm just checking my notes to make sure I talked about everything. But as you can see in the photos to the right, our museum's in a bit of a stage of renewal at the moment, as some of you may know. And so I've really been trying to push the utility of 3D during this time, just saying, there's still a way we can get people to engage with our collections that they can't access right now. So um, yeah, we've been doing that to some degree, but I think hopefully we never have to shut down to this degree again. But if we do, we could definitely leverage 3D a lot more easily now to help keep people engaged, and especially because we do a lot of education and outreach with schools around Auckland. And finally, I have future ambitions to get more 3D models on the floor of the museum and as part of digital displays, maybe some Pepper's Ghost machines around the place. I've got concepts for ancient worlds gallery redos that will really use 3D to bring the past to life, excuse the old cliche. Um, but it's one of those cases where I'm just keep telling people I'm going to do it and hoping it's foregone conclusion when that renewal comes up. But that's the goal. Um, any case, just to finish up, I'd like to thank the CNL Gregory Special Projects Fund. We got it in 2003 and 2024 with my colleagues. The Faculty of Arts at the University of Auckland Research Development Fund, which was awarded to Rebecca Phillips and myself for developing that Toki resource. And special thanks to the people you can see there. And there's probably some people I've forgotten to put there, but a lot of people at the museum have helped with this mahi to really make it come together. So I'm very appreciative of their work and help. So I will leave it there, and I'm happy to have questions. I was probably a bit quick, but anyway, thank you.